Hey guys, Urban Combat Survivor here. I wanted to make a video that I've kind of been avoiding because it's pretty political and it's pretty politically controversial. And when I made this channel, I decided that I wasn't going to be political, that I'm going to just kind of present survival from an urban perspective as best I can, in the hopes that whatever information I've gathered or whatever knowledge I have is going to help other people. The reason that I ultimately have decided now to make this video is that I think, as a person who is preparing for a possible collapse, the mindset involved in considering this is going to be necessary for good prep. So I think a lot of people are disagreeing on some things that they find extremely relevant and that I think are absolutely irrelevant. So I'm going to explain why here. Okay. Let me start by saying this. Whether or not you think a collapse is coming, there's something to consider. Right now, there are literally millions of people. It's at least in the hundreds of thousands, but I'm betting it's in the millions of people that are preparing for something. People are putting guns and ammunition away. People are putting food away. And people are talking about this. Let me tell you what my train of thought on this is. The very fact that there are that many people talking about it might be the catalyst for it. A bunch of people are waiting for a bunch of different things. It's an exhaustive list, and I can't go through the whole thing for my example here. But I can go through some of the big ones, some of the major ones. Now, the very fact that these people are in this mindset might cause something that elsewise wouldn't have happened. And this is something you need to be aware of, because you need to understand that if something does happen that has happened before, the mindset of the people involved, or the people peripheral to that action or that event, might react differently than they have in the past. For example, if something like the LA riots were to happen today, and they were to happen in a place where a lot of people are preparing for a collapse, those people might think that the collapse has come and react very, very differently than the people in Los Angeles in 1993 did, or in Oakland, 2 months ago. The very act of stockpiling and preparing for a collapse might in fact be what causes a collapse. I understand the irony that I'm making these videos and I might be contributing to that. However, in good conscience, I feel that something's coming just like the rest of you do. For me, it's a simple line of possibility that we've crossed. So I'm not going to go into likely. So think about if there were a riot tomorrow in, pick a city, Dallas, and there were 5,000 people in Dallas who are of the prepper mindset, who believe something is coming, and those riots started. Don't you see that it's much more likely that the people that are preparing actually defend their homes with their weapons because they believe here it is, here it's come? The very mindset of preparation might cause a collapse. So people need to be aware of this, because you need to be aware that just because it's happened before doesn't mean it's going to go down the same way this time. Try not to be the one that reacts differently. Defend your home, of course, but try not to be the one that acts differently, that starts calling friends and mobilizing something. Because We're in a powder keg right now. A lot of people are nervous, a lot of people are worried, and a lot of people are preparing for something. Now let me talk about the different scenarios that people are preparing for. And I see a lot of debate back and forth between folks that are preparing for different things, arguing with someone else that, person A thinks that there's going to be an economic collapse, and that's what's going to cause a breakdown of the rule of law, and person B thinks it's going to be, a political uprising that causes it. Let me tell you why it doesn't matter. People see what their mindset, what their life experiences have shown them is the case. There's a saying, we all walk in the light that we have. We usually say this about others when we feel that we're more enlightened than they are. Yeah, Grandpa did this, but, he walked in the light that he had. Well, we're also walking in the light that we have. And your life experiences are what make that light. So if you think that it's going to be an economic collapse, it's probably because the economy is one of the things that's foremost in your mind. Whereas if you think it's going to be some kind of political collapse, it's because politics is higher in your mind than the economy. It's all our personal perspective, but here's why it doesn't matter which one you're preparing for. When one happens, they all happen. Everything's going to jump at once, and here's why. If Group A is preparing for that economic collapse, and Group B is preparing for the political collapse, and Group C is preparing for a race war, and Group D is preparing for a religious war, and Group E is preparing for a border problem, everyone is going to see in these events the thing that they're preparing for. And if it doesn't happen at first, eventually that is going to happen. I know some of this is going to be really politically incorrect. Not that I really give a fuck about that, but and I'm not presenting any of this as my personal opinion. I'm trying to stay away from that. What I'm trying to do is present a neutral, logical, analytical perspective here. We'll pick one. The top of the list I started was economic, so we'll start there. Let's say there is an economic collapse. Let's say that really is the catalyst that does it. Those people who think it's going to be a political collapse, a political uprising, when they start reacting, what they're going to react with is the mindset of a political uprising. So that's going to happen. Now, it may not be everybody, but those people who are preparing for a political uprising, that's what they're going to do. Those people that are preparing for a race war, that's what they're going to see. When these riots happen, and it's going to happen in the cities first, which is going to be certain races are going to be the ones rioting first. We can look at history and see that that's the case. Well, when they see that on TV, they're going to think, here's the race war. Some of the other things you might see on the news while the news is still on is you're going to see these drug cartels. I spoke about this in one of my other videos. They're not going to stay there if there's a collapse in this country. They're going to move across the border. Well, those people in that part of the country that have that foremost in their mind, they're going to see a border invasion from Mexico. All of the above are going to be true because people perceive it that way. That means people are going to react to it, and it's going to be the case. If you think it's going to be religious, look, people segregate themselves by nature. If you take 1,000 people, and 250 of them are white, 250 of them are black, 250 of them are Hispanic, and 250 of them are Asian. Random 1,000 people, and you don't tell them anything, and you put them into a room. Here's what's going to happen. Everyone is going to group with their own people at first. And then if you leave them in there for a more extended period of time, they're going to start breaking down within those groups to even smaller groups. So, yes, all the white people are together, all the black people are together, all the Hispanics are together, all the Asians are together, but now within those groups, let's say half of those white people are liberal and half are conservatives. They're going to start separating. Let's say 65% of the black people are Christian and 25% of them are Muslim. They're going to start separating. Do you see where I'm going with this? Think about where things are going to split down if and when a collapse happens. It's not all going to be one thing. It's going to be all of it. So it doesn't really much matter which one of these things you're preparing for, does it? You need to actually be prepared for all of them, or just a generic collapse. But you need to understand. I'm mentioning this because you need to understand. You might not be a racist person. The people you're together with might not be racist. But the people coming at you might be. Now, if you've got 10 white guys stored up in a, stocked up in a building somewhere and you guys are defending, if the mindset of the people coming at you, say there's a group of 20 Hispanic guys and they're armed as well, they might see it as a racial thing just because the people in that building are white. So even if it was an economic collapse that caused it, buddy, you're in the middle of a race war right then, aren't you? Think about every division that you've heard all of these people talking about, and understand that if any single one of them happens, every single one of them happens. And be prepared for that. Urban Combat Survivor, signing off.